But 2023 is here, and 2023 has its own set of challenges. And we were talking about that Memphis game not too long ago. And one of the things that stood out was that aside from Sabonis, really, nobody. It's the whole team. Let's point to them. Nobody scored over. Nobody even got to 20 points on the game. The highest score for the Kings was De'Aaron Fox at 19. And that's the guy that, aside from, I guess, Steven Adams and the rebounding differential, De'Aaron Fox, people pointed to him is kind of, because this was another game where, Fox goes out there and he's going head to head against Ja Morant. And we've, spoken our mind on Ja Morant. A lot of people have. But the point is, he put up 35 points. And De'Aaron Fox put up 19, only really finding a rhythm kind of later in the third and then later in the fourth. And I've seen this talked about on social media and here and there. And it really popped into my mind when I was watching this game and kind of thinking back at the end of it. It's the idea that does there need to be a change in the rotational situation, the minutes distribution, the framework, I guess, for how subs go through for Fox, because Fox gets taken out of the game 5 or 6 minutes into the first quarter and then comes back in like 4 minutes left and then plays into like the second with the second unit and then comes out for 2 minutes midway through the third to finish out, or midway through the second to finish out this, the half. And then it's basically the same thing into the second half. And one of the things that's interesting is, well, for a long time, Fox has often been described as a guy that doesn't take off right away at the beginning of the game, if I'm not mistaken saying that. But, it doesn't help, as people note, especially since you're kind of seeing that in games such as this Grizzlies game. It does not help, or it doesn't seem to help, that he's getting taken out of the game early, and you can see the effects of it because he didn't really get a rhythm until late in the game. Put up 7 points each in the second and fourth quarters. And, he didn't do much in the first and second. And it's just, I'm interested to know what your thoughts on that is, because it's been something that's been talked about, but I feel like it's really coming to the forefront.
Yeah. That's great. Maybe leave Fox in and take Sabonis out first and let him get into his groove. Because Fox he needs time to get into that rhythm, right? He's more of a layup guy and someone who kind of needs to settle into that jump shot during the game. So might as well just leave him in there longer at the beginning. Maybe pull Sabonis first, just so he has more time to get that jump shot flowing. Because if that jump shot's not hidden, I mean, for him to be effective on that drive, he at least needs to be effective at the mid range. And if you take him out 5 minutes in, and he doesn't have that shot going. Well, now he's going to start looking for it in the second to get going. If it's still not going, then you're kind of messing with his minutes. Then sometimes it doesn't start hitting until the fourth. I mean, I think sometimes that's why he's such a good fourth quarter scorer and that clutch scorer, because that's when his jump shot's going. You kind of want that thing going all game. And that's something, it just kind of been happening it seems for a minute now. It's that he doesn't really get going until late in halves or late in the game when he's been in there shooting, I guess, that jumper. I think for Fox, a lot starts with that jumper. Because then you start seeing him settle and things like that. And I don't know. It's just, I don't know. You gotta let him get into his rhythm first before you just yank him out. What do you think?
I think another interesting aspect of this, and I just thought about this, is it's like, so Sabonis he got 2 early fouls in the game, and then Holmes came in early. And Holmes, we'll talk about him in a second. I don't want to delve too much into his performance lately, but he held his own. I mean, he's not the greatest, I guess. As people point out, it's not like he's going to go in there and defend the paint like a stud, but it's like the point of this team is to defend on a string. And you could hear it in Mike Brown's post-game press conference after the Grizzlies loss that, guys have got to step up and rotate. It's not just, it's kind of reiterating the idea that you don't really need a shot blocker or rim protector. Um, but my point is that Holmes came in, gave a pretty steady amount of minutes midway through the first for most of the first quarter there, and then Sabonis comes back, and as Sabonis always does, he doesn't miss a beat, and that almost kind of seemed like a glimpse into exactly what could happen. And if we'll talk about this in a second, but if Holmes really does fill in as the backup five, or if they get another backup five or whatever, if they have a steady option there, that definitely makes it easier to make that switch. And I wonder if lacking that has anything to do with not wanting to do this or sticking with a certain rotational kind of strategy or anything like that. Because it's interesting to see the dynamic there, because that definitely matters. Because you get the benefit of bringing in Davion Mitchell, and he has that ball pressure, and he's making a difference on the game. Without a doubt, he's going to give you a baseline, productivity, mostly on the defensive end. But what you're going to get, and it's going to be positive from Mitchell. Whereas with the backup center, it was kind of like a game of Russian roulette where 5 chambers had bullets in it, and it's just like that's not great, that's not fun. So, I wonder how much that plays into it, and if the backup center thing kind of remains resolved, I guess would be the word, or continues to stay that way, if that makes it easier. Because it does seem like, if Fox could, get it going, he's so good. And it just seems like, I think a lot of it's on him, obviously. Like we've pointed out before that he's had games, and the injury and stuff like that obviously played into it. But it's like he had that game against the Suns where Devin Booker went off, and it's just like, where are you, De'Aaron Fox? What's going on here? And that really, when you start talking about all-star chances, it's starting to feel, because of games like this, it's starting to feel less and less likely,
Yeah, 100%. He's definitely playing himself out of an all-star selection.
Mm-hmm.
He just can't. I don't know. The dude's just not scoring like he was, and he had that one streak, I think, in early November, where he was just incredible. Like he was hitting that mid range just every time, and it was it's something you can't rely on to happen all year round. But he's just too inconsistent with it nowadays, and he just seems like he's settling on. I mean, he's still really good with his mid range, but he's just very inconsistent on driving. Seems like he's settling on 3-pointers far too much now. And just sometimes like, dude, just like, why are you not getting into the lane? It's kind of what we need you to do. It's what you're best at. It just doesn't seem to be doing that as much. And I get it, it's a toll on the body and the season's going on, but you see Ja doing it. You see all the other all-stars putting their body on the line and getting there. So
that's what he's being paid to do.
Yeah, exactly. So it really isn't an excuse.
And I get, like, I think Fox is still like such a great player. Like his defense this season, it's been great, and he does such a good job on that end, and he's doing such a good job in other aspects that I think in terms of leadership, and then other stuff on the floor like 3-point shooting and things like that. Everything's kind of like up and away, but it's like you gotta be the leading scorer on this team. You gotta think that's you, dude. Like, come on. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, but I really don't like seeing Fox score less than 20. I really don't like him seeing score less than 25 a game. I think, especially in the NBA now, when points are being inflated so much, like Fox, dude, like you scored 25 a game 2 seasons ago. Like, what happened to that guy? And it seems like you're a far better shooter now this year too. Like, why aren't you? Like, what changed? I don't know. I thought we were going to be done with this, and at the beginning of the season, he started off so strong, which is something he usually doesn't do. But now it's like seemingly to catch up now. It's seeming to catch up now. He's just very inconsistent. He'll have like a good 3 or 4 game stretch. It's like, okay, then he'll 19 points. While Ja Morant, you're like, if anyone's your arch nemesis in this league, it's that guy. You're gonna put up 19 points, like,
yeah.
It's just frustrating. It's like, dude, yeah, you're our best scorer. You should at least be putting up 25 if Ja Morant's putting up 35. You can't be putting up 19 points. Sabonis is putting up 18, and he's a pass first guy. Like, why are you only putting up 19 and you're a score first?
I wonder. You start searching for answers, and it almost feels like things kind of do funnel down to that rotational question. Um,
Yeah, they might as well. I mean, they should both be okay in whatever unit they're in. I mean, Sabonis is just a great passer. He'll make anyone around him better, and Fox should be able to score with whoever's, regardless of whoever's around him. But maybe just leaving Fox in a little longer to get into that groove, so he can start hitting down that mid range jumper. Because that, like I said, that thing becomes very critical late in games, or even just to cut into or build leads or cut into leads or whatever. Because if he's not getting it done to the fourth quarter, like who knows what the gap is between, or how far we might be behind by that point, because he could never get that flow going.
mhm. Yeah, yeah, but we'll see. That's Mike Brown's problem, I guess.
Yeah. But it does seem like something might need to change. I think that's a good point.